Joel Embiid's heart and character has been called into question.
You are Locked On 76ers, your daily Philadelphia 76ers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On 76ers your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Sorry about that. But them Keith Pompey, co-hosts of Locked On 76ers with my right-hand man, John Mitchell.
What's up, Keith?
What's up? You good, bro? I was trying to say John Mitchell and say something else, and you like, what's up, Keith? What's up? John Mitchell, Overbrook's finest. But so we're doing the bi-coastal, John. Like, I'm in Portland this morning. It's like early. You can see how dark it is here. I'm literally right next to the window, and there's no light. There's like really no light. And John's in Philly. What's the weather like there, man?
Man, it's raining this weekend, and I think we'll get some more rain today.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it was raining here, and I was like, man, it's kind of depressing. I'm like, but dude, you're in Portland. It always rains. Like, chill. Like, always rains. But, you know, I know y'all want to talk. Y'all don't want to hear us talk about this. Today, you know, I was in Portland I was in Denver. What was it? The game was on Saturday. And it was the much anticipated Joel Embiid, Nikola Jokic game. Joel Embiid going to Denver. Now, people need to know Joel Embiid has not played in Denver since November 8th, 2019. So there was a lot of anticipation there. And what happens is, literally right before the tip-off, and I'm telling you, the guys were in the layup line. And I saw 9 guys out there. And I'm like, wow. I know Marcus Morris is starting, so it's going to be 10. And then I'm like, well, hold up. Where's Joel? I don't see Joel. All right, well, I'm about to tweet. They got 11. And then all of a sudden, I'm serious, man, literally, they were in the layup line. And then all of a sudden, you get notification. I got a text saying, you know, that from a source saying, yo, Joel ain't playing, right? This and that. Now, the Sixers are saying they found out they found out 30 minutes beforehand. But I'm telling you, when it got out there, it was the teams was on the court, layup line. Now, Mitch, you know that didn't go over well in Denver.
Yeah, we saw.
Yeah, during the national anthem, a dude yelled, "Joel Embiid's a coward," and the crowd started cheering during the national anthem.
Right.
Then it was like they kept chanting, "Where's Joel?" And then the thing that you and I talked about was the guy who questioned Joel Embiid's character and heart to Nick Nurse after the game.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on this whole situation, bro?
I think, you know, what's that? So 2019, so that's what, 4 games straight that he's missed out?
4 seasons, yep.
Okay. You know, I don't think he's running from Nikola Jokic. I don't think he's running from anybody. I think a bigger concern for the 76ers is this reoccurring swelling in his knee, you know, and his soreness. You know, you wonder how sore is the knee. But you can tell with Joel, when his knee is sore and there are reports of it and he does play, he's not the same player. You know, now if he had gone out, the question the 76ers have to weigh is, will playing him make it worse? You know, if they tried him out there and it gets worse, then you've really got issues. I mean, you know, as far as him being, I don't think he's not scared to play. I mean, he's baked him 2 times. The last 2 times he's come to Philly, he's fried him and dyed him and laid him to the side in his last 2 appearances in Philly. Jokic's last 2 appearances here. So, and I think, you know, to them to question his character, I think whoever this guy is, whoever this reporter is, he might be like the the Denver version of, say, a Howard Eskin, where you come out and you say something outlandish and everybody thinks that you're a fighter for the people and you're asking brave and bold questions. But really what you're doing is, I mean, that's a leading question to ask Nick Nurse. You know, what do you think of his character? You know, Nick Nurse probably should have said to him, well, you know what, you can ask him after the game face to face and not ask me, and say, Joel, I think your character has come into question. You know, but I mean, now we're looking at a situation where he might not play in Portland. So again, the bigger question is, the bigger issue is, there's clearly something going on with his knee. They've got to figure it out, you know, because, I mean, he's missed 10, 11 games already this season.
11.
It's 11. Yeah.
He can only miss 6 more.
Yeah, and honestly, I think most Philly fans, Sixers fans, are not really concerned about the whole MVP thing. They're concerned about, I keep saying this, Joel Embiid arriving at the playoffs healthy. That's more important.
Yeah, I got you. And what we say, he only missed six more games to be eligible for regular season awards like MVP, All NBA, this and that. I think the whole thing was a debacle. I think the way that it was handled poorly. And you did say one thing. For the reporter to ask Joel Embiid after the game. Well, you realize there was no quotes from Joel after the game.
Right.
Joel Embiid didn't speak to the media. Wasn't made available to speak to the media. Joel Embiid didn't want to speak to the media after the game. So, you know, I felt like I think it was handled poorly. Now, I will say this. You go to shoot around on Thursday in Indiana, and you go there and you see Embiid with this huge heating pad on his knee.
Right.
Everybody's on the court doing stuff. He's working with the medical team. He looked bad. His body movement looked bad against the Pacers. You know, a guy who he normally dominates was dominating him and Miles Bridges.
Miles Bridges ran right past him all night long.
And he was shooting threes he was killing them. So, you know, my thing is, Joel Embiid should have been listed on the injury report. He should have been for that one particular game, because even afterwards, I asked him about it. Indiana, I said, Joe, what's up, man? You know, he says, yeah, I'm battling through it. He said, I got to go with it. Like, normally he says, I'm okay. He admitted that he was in pain, right? So then this game comes, and, you know, the next day you go, they have practice. They got a light practice. You see Joel shooting jumpers and slippers. So I'm assuming he wasn't doing jack. Like, you know what I'm saying? He wasn't doing anything.
Right.
So the game comes from, I wasn't out there doing the pregame workout because I was in the locker room at the time. But from what I heard, he was lagging. Like, he looked bad. People thought he was out of shape. The people there thought the altitude. But he doesn't play. So my thing is, I get what you're saying, but I think the way the whole thing went down is a bad look. Because, see, at the end of the day, what we're thinking about is, I think people in Philadelphia are sympathetic towards Joel Embiid because they know him, some of them, right, this and that. But at the same time, the fact remains is you haven't played there since 2019. And this was like, you know, everybody, you had Ramona Shelburne tweeting out the day before, Joel Embiid in all caps is not on the injury report. So everybody was hyped up to see it. In my hotel room, but in my hotel, there was a bunch of people from Serbia there who came to watch Embiid and Jokic. That's what they wanted. So basically, they came here this week. They flew and they got there Saturday morning, right? And what their whole time was, they were going to see Embiid go up against the Joker go up against Embiid, and then they're there today too to watch them play the Milwaukee Bucks.
Right.
So they were getting all that. So what I'm saying is, this game was so hyped up, and then no matter what, at the end of the day, the fact remains is he didn't play. Nor did he talk about what was wrong with him.
And that's
he had other people talking about him. Then what happens is he comes on the bench and he's trolling the fans.
Right.
So to me, the optics just didn't look good. And then the thing is, it's kind of like, yes, he dominates this guy when he plays him. But I just felt like the whole thing from the gate should have been handled better, more properly. You know what I mean? It should have been. And like, the thing is, like, right now, he's on, like, if he plays tonight, which I know he's listed his question. Well, I'll be shocked if he plays. He ain't playing. Yeah. But if he plays tonight, ESPN already put the narrative out that if he plays tonight, then he was ducking the dude.
Yeah.
So if he plays, everybody gonna say he's ducking him.
Yeah.
And it doesn't look good. That again, the optics don't look good. And I'm not saying that he's ducking him, but the way it's all set up is like you had 70 points against Wemby.
Right.
Then you struggle against the Pacers.
And then you're out.
And now you don't want to play against the Bulls. Right? So, but then you come back the next day and play against the struggling Portland Trailblazers. Right?
Yeah.
So, again, I think it's bad timing for him. Kind of like you are a little bit. But the optics just doesn't look good. They don't look good, Mitch. They just don't.
Yeah.
And that's what people are going to say. And I think that, I mean, he's having a dominating season. My question is, how does this impact him for MVP?
Yeah. Well, I personally don't think he's going to get to the 65-game threshold, and that kind of leads you to the point of, is it fool's gold to think he'll be healthy when the playoffs get here? You have to ask that question now. I think the 76ers have never done a good job of handling this situation with Joel. Somebody in that organization has to tell him, listen, you've got to address this. Just all you have to do is come out and say, I tried to go, and the message that the team sent out was that he can't go. So just ride that message, but say something.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. I mean, it was dudes waiting. Dude was out there waiting for him, and it took forever to get in the locker room. The next thing you know, he was like in the trainer's room, like literally, like behind the curtain. You know what I mean? So like, and the reporters looking at me, and then a couple of them just shook their head and just walked away. And the thing is, like, this Denver market ain't exactly like New York, like, right. LA, ball, Philly. Right. It's like these dudes are like, they cool. Like, it's kind of like, it's like middle America, man. Like they're not worrying about, stuff like that. But with the way they were looking, like, really, like it was just a bad look, man. It was a bad look. It was a bad look, dude. Yeah. And I like Joel, but it was a bad look because of all times to speak, that was the time. Now he can say something today, he can say something tomorrow, but it lost a lot of luster. It's going to lose whatever he says because at that point it's kind of like, how much were you coached up? Even though you were going to be coached up after the game, right? But how many coached up then? And then if you had said something, it would have alleviated all the shots that people maybe taking away some of the shots that people were giving you right now, but. Let's talk about eBay Motors real quick, and then I really want to talk to you about, tonight's game, and there are two guys on that game, and on the team, Jerami Grant and Malcolm Brogdon, two guys who I feel like could be a benefit to the Sixers, helping out. Now, the thing about, but we'll get into more detail after I talk about, because I don't want to like share too much, and then when it comes time to talk about it, you're like, Dad, Keith, you don't have nothing to say. Right. Listen, passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors have everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof wraps, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors have your car covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay's guaranteed fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because we, eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need and all the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at eBay Motors. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay's guaranteed fit only available to U.S. customers. So, Mitch, so when we talk about, this game, and I look at it as I'm gonna be paying close attention to what Malcolm Brogdon. I was watching they played last night. They played the Bulls, and I was watching some of the nice passes and how Malcolm was getting the ball to guys and elite spots and everything like that. And then I'm looking at Jerami Grant, a guy who, when he first started out as Sixers, he was a role-playing power forward, a guy who you didn't want shooting the ball, a guy who, they was trying to turn him into a 3-and-D, but, he was more or less a rebounder, a defensive guy. And you're looking at him looking smooth, going to the basket. You look at his length, you look at all that other stuff, and you're saying to yourself, like, I think these two guys can help the Sixers.
Mm-hmm.
I think they can. What's your thoughts about Malcolm Brogdon and Jerami Grant?
I think, looking at the health of the 76ers, looking at guys like DeAnthony Melton, looking at, the whole Robert Covington situation, I think if you bring in, and we've talked about Malcolm Brogdon, I think we all like Malcolm Brogdon. Brogdon is a piece. And the longer this lingers, will they or won't they make a deal by the trade deadline, the more it feels like they're going to probably go for a guy who's not, you've heard the names at the top of their wish list or allegedly at the top of their wish list. It seems like they're more interested in seeing what their pieces finally look like, and probably making them. I would like a Malcolm Brogdon, and I like Jerami Grant too. He's I think each one of them brings something. Obviously, Brogdon is a sharpshooter. Jerami is a guy who, started out as, a defender, a guy who had obvious potential as a defender, but now he's a scorer in a league where defense is almost non-existent. So if they're going to make a move, they're not going to go for the guys who we've talked about who are higher on the pecking order. Then yeah, I'm completely fine with getting adding a guy like Malcolm Brogdon and letting him be on the ball and letting a guy like Maxey play off the ball and be interchangeable. So it gives them the point guard depth that they've been looking for forever. So I like that. If I had to rate them as from a desirability standpoint, I go Malcolm Brogdon number 1, and I would go Jerami number 2. I think either one of them would be a welcome addition, particularly since this team just can't seem to get healthy right now.
Yeah, the only concern I have about Malcolm Brogdon, and I like him a lot, is I think he has another year after this on his deal. I think for right now he can help the team out and help them better. The thing about him is you got to realize, like, what type of fit can he become? Like, is he going to be a good fit? Because the knock on him everywhere he's gone is that he's tend to wear out his welcome a little bit. Like when things don't go his way, they say
it's a lot of guys.
Yeah, a lot of them. But like it depends on do they bring enough for you to just deal with it and handle it? Like, because he's one of those guys who has a reputation that he just, if stuff doesn't go well, it's just not, it don't work out, right? It doesn't really work out. Right. But here's the deal. There's 2 other guys, and one that you really like a lot, DeJounte Murray. And I've written about that before. We talked about him before. I've also written about Bruce Brown, right? Mm-hmm. Now, these are 2 guys that the Sixers have said that right now they currently is unlikely for them to go after or get. I think a lot of that has to do with they will have to give up too much to get them, and there's some other teams that are leading the charge for those guys.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think that both of those guys will work extremely well. I mean, you look at Bruce Brown. Bruce Brown helped the Denver Nuggets win a championship last year. He got paid this offseason by the Indiana Pacers, who in turn traded him to the Toronto Raptors. But he has that winning pedigree. He makes winning plays, just like Jerami Grant does, right? He makes winning plays, but he could play the 2, he could play the 3. He would be a high level guy off the bench for you, for a
Right.
championship caliber team, as he was, like with or he could start as he was like with Denver. Then we all know about DeJounte Murray, the things that he would free Maxey up to do.
Right.
So those are two other guys, and I know that the Sixers have said that at this time it seems unlikely, but that's because because it's unlikely because you can't get him, but if he falls on your lap, I feel like both of those guys would be great for the Sixers.
Yeah, and it all goes back to what they're willing to give up. I mean, are they ready to part ways with Tobias? I mean, I think we both kind of agree that Tobias, the way he's playing right now, I know we said this before, in the Januaries and Februarys of the past few years, that Tobias is really playing great. But Tobias, when he gets back out there, I mean, unfortunately with his injury, or his illness, they've missed him. I mean, they quite easily could have won that game in Denver. I mean, they got 30-13 out of Paul Reed, mostly against Jokic. So, if you those guys at the bottom tier, like I like, how much I like DeJounte Murray. He would be my number one target. I like his length. I like his defense, although it hasn't been as apparent in Atlanta. But Atlanta seems to be one of those places where whenever a guy goes there, he's just no longer the player he was before he got there. So if you can, I mean, they need to do something, I think, only because if you look at the teams, we know Boston is set. We pretty much think Milwaukee is set. We think they're set. But the teams that are nipping at their heels, below them have all made deals, and have gotten better.
Yeah.
So, I want to see. Honestly, it's time for. I want to see Daryl Morey really start tinkering and making some moves to make this team better. Unfortunately, the big albatross is always, you're making these moves and they all could go for naught if Joel's not healthy come the spring. So it's very cyclical. It always goes back to that, the health of Joel.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. It always goes back to the health of Joel. But when we get back, y'all, I want to quiz y'all on a little something. I want to let y'all know a little. I want to introduce y'all to something. Quiz, and then we're going to break down today's game a little bit. But let's talk about quiz.com, right? So the thing about what quiz.com is, right? And it's funny because it's QUIIIZ, right? 3 Z's. It's a real-time online trivia game platform that allows players to win cash prizes. The game connects creators, community managers, and their fans in a thrilling festival of engagement and monetization, right? So you could get paid off of all this stuff that you want to do, right? So this episode of Locked On 76ers is brought to you by Quiz, right? So with Quiz, right, the reason why there's 3 eyes is because it is the next generation of trivial experience. It's also the world's first platform where you can earn money playing knowledge games. And for Locked On 76ers fans, they've created an NBA quiz game where you can test your knowledge and win real cash with friends and other fans and let your knowledge shine all the way to the bank. You can play without downloading anything. Just go to app.quiz, and that's QUIIZ.com, and start playing today. I'm telling y'all, you will have a really good time. You're going to enjoy it. And I'm telling you, just do it. Just do it. And tell them that John and Keith sent you. Now, Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On Plus, our national shows covering every league. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. Now, Mitch, the funny thing is not funny, but the weird thing is, we spent, time talking about Joel. We talked about these two guys who could possibly help the Sixers from Portland. But what we didn't talk about is how good some of those guys that may be up to get traded looked against Denver. Now, I'm not saying Paul Reed's going to get traded. He's not going to get traded. But, there's guys like K.J. Martin looked good. There's guys, Marcus Morris had a great first half. He couldn't find his shot in the second half. But, a lot of these guys, the Sixers look good. And I think that tonight's game against the Portland Trailblazers, a struggling team, that even if Joel doesn't play, let's say if Maxey doesn't play, based off of what they showed me the last game, I'm not looking at it like they're going to go out there and get boat race. I feel like it's going to be competitive. These guys are showing, like Pat Bev had a heck of a game. I mean, I didn't know if I was watching. If you looked at the stat line, you would have thought it was a misprint where they had Paul Reed instead of Joel. Like, no, Joel really played. Y'all got the wrong guys written down here. I mean, he had 30 and 13 against Nikola. So, I mean, I still expect this to be a competitive game. And I think like Nick Nurse has to have confidence in his players.
No, I agree with you. I think, and those guys, Pat Bev, I mean, who saw that coming from B-Ball Paul? Who, like you said, if you saw the box score, you would say, okay, well, that's another Embiid performance. So, although, I mean, this road trip is not turning into what I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be a game where we were going to see them get tested and, get out to the West Coast and, playing a game in Denver, matchup of the past MVPs, the last two MVPs. But they do have an opportunity to get guys. I mean, Kelly Oubre's played well. And it does. It's interesting watching, and it's important watching these guys who are role players step up. So hopefully, when the cavalry does come in, these guys will be able to make contributions. Obviously not at the level they're making right now, but make contributions going down, at the trade deadline or whatever the roster is going to look like and beyond. I mean, it was really fun watching the 76ers. I was watching the game and I said, okay, well, at some point they're going to get boat race, without Joel there. And they never stopped fighting. There was Pat Bev, B-Ball Paul Oubre, Marcus Morris, everybody was making contributions. I mean, they only had one starter in that game. And usually in the NBA, that spells disaster just about against anybody you play, and it didn't. So, this was a late night game, but it will be interesting to see how things pan out for them.
Yeah, it will be. It was going to be extremely interesting to see. So we'll see. It should be interesting.
They need to get this one.
Yeah, they need to. They really do. The only thing that I will say about these road trips is they've been really disappointing. And what I mean that they've been a letdown. Like the Christmas trip is you thought Embiid was going to play.
Mm-hmm.
This one, Embiid plays the Indiana game. They get boat raced. They look bad. And then, he didn't play the last game. And I doubt if he plays tonight.
Yeah.
I doubt if he plays tonight or tomorrow. So, I mean, for that, it's been kind of like a letdown from a fan's perspective. You know what I mean? But
tell me this. Will a reporter in Portland question his character if he doesn't play?
Nah, probably not. Probably not. That should be it. That was crazy. But the delivery was crazy and everything that the guy said. I felt like under the circumstances, I understand what he was trying to say, but the way it came out and the whole exchange was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it is what it is, though. But that's how they feel about him. I mean, the guy has not been there since November 8th, 2019. So
Long
they
time.
think, yeah, that's a long time. They think you're ducking the dude. So, but look, y'all, we want to thank y'all for listening to Locked On 76ers. Just know that this podcast is free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So enjoy your day, enjoy your week. And hey, February is here sooner than you think. Peace.
Stay dry, bro.
I tried to.